So, bakit nga ba mas mabilis ma-dissolve yung substance sa isang hot water kaysa dun sa substance sa cold water? Okay, good day everyone! For today's video, pag-aaralan po natin yung collision theory. So, bakit nga ba mas mabilis ma-dissolve yung substance sa isang hot water kaysa dun sa substance sa cold water? So, mayroon ako ditong cold water, meron akong coffee, ihalo ko to o ilalagay ko tong cold water sa coffee. So, ito po yung kinalabasan. Lapit ko. Yung kinalabasan. However, meron naman akong hot water, ilalagay ko sa coffee. Ito yung naging result. Pag kinumpara po natin, ito yung cold. Ano yung difference? Mas na-dissolve yung sa hot kaysa sa cold. Bakit kaya? Tapos, pag in-stir natin, mas mabilis madi-dissolve. Bakit? Ganon din to sa cold. So, hindi nga lang ganun kabilis dahil factor pa rin yung kanyang coldness. Pero, bakit kaya ganon? Ito po yung pag-aaralan po natin for today's video about collision theory from the word collide. Yung collision is from the word, taken from the word collide. Our learning target is to define collision theory and describe how it affects the chemical reaction. Alamin po natin, ano nga ba yung collision theory? At let's describe ano yung mga nakaka-apekto sa chemical reaction. Katulad nito, the hot water reacts with the coffee. Ang ating solute is coffee, ang ating solvent water. Pero dalawang phase, hot and cold phase. Ito, slightly reacted, yung cold. Pero nung nag-in-stir natin, immediately na-dissolve yung coffee. So, alamin po natin, what are the factors that affects this reaction. And then, explain the different factors affecting the rate of reaction. So, ano yung mga factors na nakaka-apekto sa rate of reaction? Alamin po natin yan dito sa video na ito. Pag sinabi po natin collision theory, it states that gas phase chemical reaction occurs when molecules colliding have sufficient kinetic energy. So, ibig sabihin, pag sinabi natin collision, from the word collision, collide. When chemical reaction occurs, kapag daw ang molecule or colliding molecule have sufficient or enough kinetic energy. So dito sa dalawa, hot and cold, alin dito kaya yung may enough kinetic energy? You will notice ito na-dissolve agad sa hot. Ito, hindi masyado. So, ibig sabihin may factor doon. Ano yung factor doon? Bakit nagkaroon siya bakit na-dissolve agad dito sa hot solution more than dito sa cold solution? This collision theory, or the model called collision theory is used to relate the properties of particles to the rates of chemical reaction. According to this theory, atoms, ions, and molecules can react from products when they collide. The particles have enough kinetic energy. So yung solute natin is coffee, solvent natin is water. So magkakaroon siya ng good product kapag enough yung kanyang collision theory. Yung product, di ba nga sa isang chemical reaction, meron tayong two parts, chemical reactants and product. So yung product natin, yung output. So ito yung output natin. Naging solution, naging coffee solution. Pero para maging coffee solution, kailangan natin ng may mga factors or reactants para mag-change yung isang substance from one form to another. Particles that do not have enough energy to react bounce apart and change. So, kapag hindi enough yung kanyang kinetic, ano ba yung kinetic energy? Kinetic energy is the energy in motion. So, ibig sabihin, ano ba yung mga factors that can energize a certain material? Sa physics, it could be push or pull. Moving objects. So, for it to move, there's something force. So dito, ano yung factor na naka-apekto para ma-dissolve agad itong makapag-produce ng kinetic energy itong ating hot solution more than dito sa cold solution. Alamin po natin yan later. For instance, the collision of hydrogen molecule and oxygen molecule turns to water. Yung collision, yung reaction ng hydrogen and oxygen naging water. Ngayon, yun nga, kanina, pangatlong ulit na to, kapag hindi enough yung kinetic energy of this collision, for instance, oxygen and hydrogen, ang sabi po dito, molecules produce no reaction. Walang reaction na mangyayari. Parang ano to parang sa ikaw, naliligaw ka. Nagsabi ka lang na gusto mo siya, pero wala ka namang ginagawa. Action. So, no collision will happen. May inis lang yung sinabihan mo. Diba? So, dapat, there's something, enough kinetic energy for you to move, to do an action, rather than words. Diba nga sabi, action speaks louder than words. Aww. So the minimum energy that colliding particles must have in order to react ay tinatawag siyang activation energy. So yung para magkaroon ng reaction yung isang solution or substance or particles, kailangan ma-meet niya yung tinatawag na minimum energy to collide. At ang tawag dyan is activation energy. You can think of the activation energy for reaction as a barrier that reactants must cross before products can form. So, ibig sabihin ito, na-meet niya yung kanyang minimum energy para ma-dissolve yung coffee sa hot water. However, hindi niya na-meet agad. Madi-dissolve din naman to pero for a period of time. Reaction rate, pag sinabi po natin reaction rate, it is defined as how quickly or slowly a reaction takes place. Kaya nga, dito may mga factors. Ano nga ba yung mga factors for us to know the reaction rate? Dito, very fast yung dissolving, pag-dissolve ng coffee sa hot water. However, slow, dito naman napakabagal. So, ano kaya yung mga factors? Ito yung mga factors na nakaka-apekto sa reaction rate. Sabi natin, reaction rate, how fast or how slow reaction occur. So, una, temperature, surface area, concentration of reactants, and catalyst. Ito yung mga factors. Take note for this. Temperature, surface area, concentration of reactants, and catalyst. Temperature as a factor, if the temperature is increased, the reactant particles move more quickly. So the reactant particles have more kinetic energy and the reaction rate increases. So ito kanina, hot water. Yung ating solvent is hot water with the solute coffee, barako. So, ang nangyari, dahil sa mataas yung kanyang temperature, dahil hot niya, tendency na dissolve quickly. So, ibig sabihin, nagkaroon agad ng reaction. So, the higher the temperature, the higher the reaction rate. Ibig sabihin, the higher the kinetic energy. Temperature has a higher kinetic energy that tends to move the molecules. So, yung init can cause kinetic energy. Parang ikaw, sa isang closed room, pag nainitan ka ng tendency, magpapaypay ka. So, nagkaroon ka ng movement. You applied kinetic energy. Large surface area would have a larger space of collision between particles of reaction. So, yung space also is a factor. Ang sabi ko dito, kapag large yung surface area, ay magkakaroon din ng space to collide between particles. So, the larger the surface, the higher the tendency to collide particles. So, take a look at this. Take a look at this. Ito po yung low surface area with an acid particle and water molecules. So, dahil maliit yung kanyang surface area, ang tendency, yung kanyang collision has low yung kanyang collision. However, dito sa magnesium atom with a very large surface, let's assume na large surface to, ang tendency, mataas yung kanyang reaction rate. Another thing is, of course, the concentration. If the concentration is increased, the reactant particles become more crowded. There is greater chance of particles colliding, the rate of reaction increases. So, kapag mataas yung concentration, mas mataas yung chance to collide ng mga particles ng isang substance. For instance, ito ating illustration, this describes low concentration. So, you will notice few yung kanyang collision. Ito yung collision, nagbanggaan. High concentration, marami yung mga partners. So, more collision happens kapag mataas yung high concentration. Another thing is the catalyst. Catalyst is a substance that makes chemical reaction faster. So, yung catalyst natin dito sa ating ginawang example, cold water and hot water. Siyempre, ang water is, best solvent. So, depending na nga lang dun sa temperature. Kanina, mataas yung temperature dito, kaya mabilis na dissolve. At ito mababa. Pero bakit nung hinalo natin, mas na-dissolve? Kasi nga, mas nag-increase yung kanyang kinetic energy. Kasi hinalo mo pa eh. Kaya mas mabilis na dissolve. Ibig sabihin, mas mabilis nagkaroon ng reaction rate. So, yung catalyst, factor din po yan kasi nga, depende nga dun sa substance na para magkaroon ng, nagagamitin mo para magkaroon ng mabilis na reaction rate. So, Oh, may kaya pa ganyan. Ito po yung activation energy graph. Ito yung energy tapos yung time. You will notice kapag ka merong enough yung kanyang activation energy, ito, you will notice, ito yung ang catalyzed reaction. Ito naman yung catalyzed reaction. So, you will notice here, kapag uncatalyzed yung kanyang material, ang tendency, it needs more activation energy. Kapag catalyze yung kanyang reaction, less yung kanyang activation energy. At the same time, yung kanyang product to meet. Okay? Lastly, we all know that chemical reactions have been a part of this world. Ever since the time began. From Big Bang to the present day, everything happening around us has something to do with chemical reaction and chemical processes. Chemical reactions are commonly observed in our daily lives, such as cooking, eating, cleaning, and other processes like respiration, corrosion, and fermentation. Kaya kung sasabihin mo na, paano ko ba yan may apply sa sarili ko? Very applicable, and you always apply it in your daily lives. Okay? Hopefully, nakatulong po ito sa ating mga grade 11 distance learners who are taking physical science. At kung bago ka sa channel na ito, huwag mong kalimutang mag-subscribe para updated ka sa mga susunod ko pong video lessons, and i-hit mo ang notification bell. Maraming salamat sa panunood. Happy learning!